today. So without further ado, I'd love to introduce Shelly Jackson Buffington. Shelly is the co-founder of the Look and the Feel branding agency, which is loosely based in Atlanta, but has an entirely remote workforce. So if you want to talk about how to collaborate virtually, she's obviously the queen of doing so. But she's here to share her wisdom with us and speak about how to collaborate with other women business owners. And I'll also just say at this point that business resilience, if you know me, you know that I harp on about business resilience an awful lot. I worked with a lot of businesses after the disasters, and business, one of the things about business resilience is community and really, being integrated into your community. And I think, one of the ways that we can do this as business owners is to collaborate. So on that note, over to Shelly.
Hi, thank you, Nikki, and thank you, WEV, for having me today. I'm seeing some folks calling in from all over Southern California, and I'm usually based in Santa Barbara, but I am right now in the summer in Durango. So I'm enjoying some time in the wilderness by the Mancos River. And my name's Shelly, and I'm the co-founder and executive director of the Look and the Feel, like Nikki said. And our entire team is based remote even before COVID. We've been working with folks, clients and collaborators all over the world, all across the US as well. So things really didn't change that much for our business, thankfully, but it's even proven how, it's shown me how important it is to connect and collaborate with others. And we'll talk a little bit about virtual collaborations today as well. And I'll just give you a little bit more information about myself. And actually, I do have a quick question for our co-hosts. I'm going to just send, okay, Emma, I'm going to send you my slideshow right now while I'm introducing myself. So you've got that. All right. I'm old school when it comes to speaking. I like to have my notes, and with Zoom, you can't have your slideshow and your notes up at once. So thank you for helping me troubleshoot that. I just emailed it to you, Emma, and Nikki as well. So a little bit about me and what we're going to talk about today. I started my business as a collaboration, and my business partner, Callie, and I first met in the Bay Area almost 8 years ago. And we realized that if we came together as individuals and created a partnership, that we would be able to provide more robust services for our clients, more engaging customer experiences. And we realized that when we were together that we could achieve and succeed and achieve so much more. So I'm a writer, I'm a certified coach, I'm a brand strategist, and I specialize in helping entrepreneurs tell their stories, feel more confident sharing their unique message with their customers and client base, so that they can ultimately build more brand loyalty and more engaging and deeper relationships with their customers, so they can ultimately achieve more success for their business and their brand. So I'm curious if anyone has already collaborated for their business. You can just raise your hand or give a thumbs up. Or if you're considering collaboration, same thing. See a couple nods. All right, good. Yeah, thanks, Sabine. Oh, great. We got some more people. Super. Well, I'm really glad that you all are here, because collaboration is it's really vital for business success. And I wanted to explore collaboration and what it means to collaborate with all of you, because it's an important topic for entrepreneurship in general, but it's particularly important for a women's organization like WEV, because women continue to show that oftentimes by nature, we're effective collaborators, and we tend to be more naturally inclined to collaborate than our male counterparts. I'm just going to do a quick check and see with Emma you can just drop it in the chat, Emma, if you've got the slideshow. I'm just gonna keep going here with the slides, or with my, oh great, you got it. Super, thank you for your help. I realized last webinar we did it this way, and I think we had a different team, so I forgot about that. Great, so we can just move through these. Great, so today we're going to talk about the value and importance of collaboration for business success. We're going to talk about a little bit more about what I just said, why women are effective collaborators, why we tend to be primed to be really effective collaborators. Also, what to look for in a potential collaborator, and what you should hone for your own skill set to be a potential collaborator. We'll also talk about the foundations of successful collaboration and virtual collaborations. And then we'll talk about steps you can take to become a strong collaborator. And we'll have a couple of little breakout sessions as well to talk about your own ideas for collaboration. So I hope that you can walk away today with a clear idea of how collaboration, what it is, how it can help your business succeed, and then with some ideas that you can reflect on and grow for your own business to consider your own collaborations in the future. So technology has made it really easy to work from anywhere, at any time, in our current professional environment, with self-employed creatives or solopreneurs or people single-handedly running their own business. The idea of collaboration and its value is often overlooked. And I think that's a little bit of a shame, because collaboration is a tool that can be utilized even during times like right now that are uncertain, and collaborations can happen virtually as well. And I don't have a slide for this section, but I wanted to make sure that I touched base on this, because oftentimes we think in order to collaborate, we have to be face-to-face. And yes, face-to-face interaction really does lend itself to be more collaborative in nature, but we can have really meaningful interactions virtually as well. And some people say that it's even more efficient to collaborate. Actually, Emma, could you go back? Yeah, we're going to land there for a second. I'm just going to talk about virtual collaboration. And some experts say, business experts, Harvard Business Review put out a report a couple of years ago about how online or virtual collaborations can even be more efficient and sometimes even more effective than offline in-person collaboration, because it solves the commute problem, it solves convenience problems, and there's so many tools and technologies out there to support high impact virtual collaboration that we are able to widen our pool of who we can collaborate with. And like I said before, my entire team works remotely, and even before the pandemic started, and we collaborate with brands from all over. And I love virtual collaborations because when you work remotely with a diverse team, you're able to widen that pool of collaborators, like I said, and you can be more strategic on who you choose to collaborate with. So you can harness more specific expertise regardless of where your collaborators are located in the world. And you can use tools like Slack or Asana, Zoom, like we are using virtual whiteboards. Those are all tools that help us collaborate in real time, even though we're on a screen. So we're able to collaborate with anyone at any time from any place. And since more than 50% of website traffic is now used from an access from a mobile device, and almost 2 million people, or almost 4 million people in the world are accessing the internet, 4 billion people, excuse me, are accessing the internet. Almost everyone is accessing it from a mobile device globally. It's over 50% in the US, and across the world it's even higher. So chances are really likely that your customers are already using the web to interact with your business or businesses like yours. So taking advantage of the virtual space to collaborate with other businesses to help grow your business only really makes sense. So during this workshop, I encourage you to consider what kind of resources you have currently to develop a more collaborative relationship with other entrepreneurs or even your customer base, regardless of where they're located, or regardless of whatever in-person limitations like COVID, whatever factors are impacting and limiting in-person collaborations. All right, so I'm going to pause there. And before we jump in, I really want to start with a collaborative exercise. So I usually do this face-to-face, and I have everyone turn to one another, but I'd like to take advantage of Zoom and do a breakout session. So Emma's going to break everyone into small groups, and you're just going to take about 5 minutes. I'd love to hear you, to hear about what you think of when you think of collaboration. There's no wrong answer. I'm curious to know what word comes to mind, what phrase, and then in your opinion, what qualities you believe make a collaborative relationship a successful one. And you'll reflect on that together, and then when you can come back, we'll chat more, and I'll share with you some information about what I found to be a collaborative relationship. A few folks coming back. And yeah, thanks for collaborating, for being up to collaborating so quickly. And welcome back. I'm just curious how that went for you. Would anyone like to share vocally collaborating with us, letting us see your face and hearing from you, what you walked away with from your group breakout, what you discussed, and how you all defined collaboration, or what kind of qualities or terms came up for you when you thought about collaboration? Okay, how about, Sylvia, how about you share, and then I'll ask Valerie, I saw her hand.
Okay. I need to, can you hear me now? Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you.
So I met up with Valerie, and basically we discussed very briefly the definition. And my definition of collaboration was networking with individuals that have the same vision, that have basically the same type of individual, ethical backgrounds, like-minded individuals. And she came out with using the word mosaic, which she shared that she had gotten together with a group of people, and she was amazed how many different people were in this group, anywhere from people that made woodworking to the creative background, who's an artist, and so forth. So what I got out of this is it's a combination of, I believe, like-minded individuals coming together, however, each individual bringing in their specific talents that are unique to themselves, that's going to bring this project or whatever you're working together to a higher level.
Thank you for sharing. I love that. You guys took it all the way, came up with a great definition. A mosaic, what a great word. Mm-hmm. Oh, I love that. As a writer, that's speaking to my soul. It's just, very visceral, like that. Anyone else want to share? We've got, let's see, Bonnie. I think you're just adjusting. Let's see. It's a lot of folks. I'm trying to see. Anyone else feel like sharing? And feel free to drop it into the chat. It's really nice to see it all come together. So you can type some stuff in the chat if you'd like. All right. No one else? Okay. Well, great. A lot of people say things like trust. They'll say shared vision. I think Stacy said shared vision in our group, which I love. We'll talk about shared vision, and Carrie shared about having a similar client base and some overlap there. And so going in a similar direction, and also going in the same direction where you're going to be talking to a similar group of people. We'll talk more about that too. All right, let's see, anyone writing any in the chat? Whenever I'm doing these webinars, I feel like I have so many windows open. All right, perfect. Yeah, so I encourage you to drop your own thoughts there in the chat if you feel like it. And Emma, let's scoot over to the next slide. And I'm going to share with you in my research and I've done a lot of research on collaboration. I find it really interesting in terms of how businesses succeed. And I really truly believe it's a tool. So in my research, I've come up with my own definition, and it is simply put, to collaborate means to come together as individuals with a shared goal to achieve that which cannot be achieved alone. Simply achieved alone. That's actually a key word there. So yes, you can likely do something on your own. It might take a lot more time, and the outcome might be a little bit clumsy. But when you come together with a shared goal, and like what Sylvia shared, that if you have various skill sets that can complement one another, you can achieve things that you can't achieve alone. And when we collaborate, we create a shared space of collective creativity. And we'll stay on this next slide. What is it? What is collaboration? And when we come together to collaborate, we create a shared place of creativity. And what I mean by that is that creativity loves company. So one very natural and obvious example of how creativity and collaboration come together is in the performing arts. So if you take jazz ensembles or improv theater groups, musicians and improv actors, they thrive in collaboration. Playing with others, playing off of one another's creativity helps them be more creative and ultimately succeed. And they can't do their art without collaboration with others. And Keith Sawyer, who's an expert, says that when working together in collaboration, ideas emerge that no one person would have been able to think of alone. And I really like that quote. Ideas emerge that no one person would have been able to think of alone. It's really all about possibility. So we'll go to the next slide and talk about why is it important to collaborate? Well, collaboration can greatly enhance your professional aptitude, and some experts even consider it vital to entrepreneurial success. Collaboration, it inspires innovation, it reduces unnecessary risk, it helps to hold you accountable and others accountable, and ultimately it amplifies success for everyone involved. So I like to think of, mountaineering expeditions, a shared goal, talk about a shared vision. You want to summit the mountain, and to summit a mountain on your own could be perilous, definitely not advised. And when you have others around you to help support you physically and emotionally up that mountain, you have a greater likelihood of succeeding and also being safe. So I'm sure you can think of off the top of your head a collaboration that you think is inspiring and successful. My husband gave me this idea, and I really like it. It's about the Beatles. He talks about how, or he just loves the Beatles, but how Paul McCartney and John Lennon are considered one of the greatest songwriting partnerships in the history of recorded music. Their creative partnership really was the driving force behind the sound that changed popular music forever. There's also the Wright brothers who collaborated in The Power of Flight. My favorite one is how Ben and Jerry came together to create Ben and Jerry ice cream. Nike and Apple are brand giants that collaborate on a lot of fitness technology and devices and products that help increase their market share, raise their respective brand reach, but also widen their customer bases so they can work together to create an experience for their customers that they otherwise wouldn't have been able to if they didn't collaborate. And one of my favorite creative ones, back to the improv story, is Amy Poehler and Tina Fey are creative partners. They met in improv class, and their partnership has led to movies and TV shows. They co-write and co-host award shows, and they are considered creative partners and collaborators. So why women? Why should women collaborate? And like I said in the very beginning, we tend to be natural collaborators. We tend to be powerful collaborators. We have a tendency to be strong communicators and help those around us communicate more effectively. And women tend to value teamwork. Studies are showing that women outperform men at collaborative problem solving. And this shows from a young age. So during school projects, young girls are more likely to show more positive attitudes and more tendency to help their other students succeed. They want young women and young girls in school, on school projects, when they're collaborating. Studies are showing that they tend to be more interested in seeing others succeed and valuing the skills that their fellow classmates and collaborators bring to a project. We're more inclined to help one another. Studies show that when women have a strong network of other female colleagues, that we have a greater chance of being promoted or being hired or being recruited for higher paying positions. there's an idea of something called the shine theory, which is a movement based on the idea of valuing collaboration versus competition. You've also might have heard of the Rising Tide Society, which is for entrepreneurs. Any entrepreneur can join, but largely it's people who identify as women who are making up their membership base. And the shine theory encourages women to consider the question, would we be better as collaborators than as competitors? And the answer is almost always yes, we would be better as collaborators. I really believe that high tides float all boats, and that's a running theme here in my talk about collaboration. So Emma, we can go to the next slide, which is how do you find and how do you be an effective collaborator? Now, effective collaborators build relationships. They handle conflicts in a constructive manner. There's shared ownership and shared control. A great collaborator is willing to take the first step and pitch in, even if they won't get the spotlight. No one is the boss in a collaboration. Everyone comes with their own skill set. And yes, there are people who might be driving or project managing, but ultimately everyone shares the brain trust and the ownership is collective. Generosity goes a very long way in collaboration. It's also an incredibly desirable leadership characteristic, and the best collaborators express their appreciation for everyone that's involved, everyone that's contributed, whether it's a 2-person partnership or a 10-person partnership. The best collaborators, the most effective, are those that aren't shy about expressing their appreciation to the entire team, and they give credit where credit is due. So collaboration really doesn't have ego involved. And I think that that's a really lovely thing to infuse in our entrepreneurial relationships. Before you go looking for someone to collaborate with, you want to make sure you get clear on your own strengths and weaknesses. So you want to do a personal SWOT analysis, a strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats. Think about what kind of collaborator you're looking for. You want to get clear on your brand as well and make sure that you know what your brand values are, what your brand core traits are, and your personal but also business strengths. So what does your business offer for collaboration? What are you lacking? What resources do you have? What resources do you not have? And you want to find someone who helps complement your strengths and who brings something new to the table. You want to take your personality and leadership tests like StrengthsFinder or Myers-Briggs. One website I recommend is called 16personalities.com. Not sure if anyone's heard of that. It's a free test, but you can find out where your strengths lie as a leader, as a business owner, and also where you have room for some growth and where you could potentially fill that gap with a collaborator's strengths. So similarly to what we were talking about in our breakout group, you want to find partners with missions that align with yours and who can add a layer of credibility and expertise to what you're already doing. So some red flags to watch out are things like if you're a potential collaborator and you don't share similar brand values, if you have a hard time communicating, or if your goals are not aligned, and if you don't have that shared vision. And we'll talk more about shared vision when we talk about the pillars of collaboration. Collaborations are mutually beneficial, so it's really important to find collaborators with those missions that align so you can add that layer of credibility and expertise, and that you're not disconnected, and you don't want to start from a disconnect. You don't want to start from a place of disconnect. So let's scoot on to number 7, Emma, the foundations of a successful collaboration. And we'll start with the first one, which is communication. And communication, well, I'll back up. The foundations of a successful collaboration, each collaboration is unique because every collaborator is unique. So there are some shared qualities, though, that I've found that make up a successful collaboration, and I'll walk you through those. But it starts with being intentional from the very beginning about how and why you'll work together. If you're currently considering a collaboration, or maybe you've already been involved in one, you can refer to these foundational principles to help inform your work and guide your collaboration so it's the most successful and effective as it can be. So I like to start with communication. Communication is a crucial component of building and maintaining any relationship, but when it comes to business, it's really crucial for a healthy collaboration. When you develop a collaboration or you embark on a new project with an existing collaborator, you'll want to be sure that you set clear expectations and spend your time identifying what your individual role will be and what everyone else's role will be. To start, establish those clear communication priorities with your collaborator. I recommend outlining how you'll communicate, when you'll communicate, so getting clear on hours that you're available, days, maybe setting up regular meeting times, getting clear on what kind of tools you'll use technologically, and then allow for each individual to have the opportunity and freedom to feel that it's okay to ask questions or to speak up when they need clarification or share ideas. It's really important to establish those clear guidelines and protocol for communication from the beginning, because that helps clear up any chances of confusion or, cloudy communication. And people collaborate better when engagement is structured and simple. So setting up those very specific guidelines helps your collaborators and anyone participating focus on the ideas rather than missing or worrying that they're going to have to chase down someone or that they're going to miss some vital information. So determine in advance who will talk to whom and when and how often. And if you're collaborating virtually, which we almost all are, I'm sure right now, make sure that you coordinate time zones using a tool like World Clock. If you're collaborating with anyone outside of your area, make sure you add time zones to any meeting time on a calendar invite or email or agenda. And if you're using Zoom, I always recommend to use headphones or earbuds because it helps cut down on background noise. And then, Zoom is great, but we also can't forget about email and the good old-fashioned phone calls. So if Zoom or video chats aren't needed or just unnecessary, make sure that you outline when and how you can expect emails or phone calls. So we'll scoot on to the next slide. And that is the second pillar foundation of communication I've identified is trust. And I believe that Stacy brought up trust in our group as well, or shared vision, which has to do with trust. When it comes to collaborations, the best collaborations are created by people who have a mutual interest and investment in seeing one another succeed. So it's really not about, that's where the ego gets removed. It's really not about my success. It's about us as a group succeeding and also my collaborator succeeding. So make room in your collaboration for all members to have the freedom to explore and create, and that no one individual is overbearing or controlling the creative vision. It's an understanding that your work is evolving and you're always learning, and collaborations aren't static. So it really goes along with communication as well, but make sure you maintain a safe space for all members to share concerns. I always suggest assuming good intentions and ask for anyone's perspective instead of placing blame or criticizing. And this seems like pretty obvious insight, but lots of research has shown that collaboration that doesn't have this safe space or this trust from the beginning, that they just end up falling apart, or people, lose resources and lose opportunity. So keep good faith in your fellow collaborator when you're considering tasks that need to be done in order to move along a project, and always trust one another when sharing and giving feedback. And I like to always say that, success doesn't happen in a silo. So when we work to build a business or advance in our career, it really can't happen on our own. Everyone needs a community and network of supporters, which goes back to what Sylvia shared about networking. So we'll go to the next one, which is number 3, which is shared vision, which we've heard a couple times already. And that's been brought up a couple times in the breakout groups. So what I mean by shared vision is setting a goal of where you want to take your collaboration. So getting very, very clear with your fellow collaborators what you want to establish as your why. So why are you working together? And how, as a team, are you going to be able to evolve this work? How do you see your work evolving? What are your shared goals? What is it that you collectively aspire to do together for your audience, your target audience. So ask those questions. I really, really encourage you to actually ask them. At the end of the webinar, there'll be a link to a worksheet you can download that has questions to talk through with your fellow collaborators, so you can establish a really good collaboration. Without a clear why and that everyone is behind, nothing's really gonna work out. A compelling purpose really brings together your team, and it helps your fellow collaborators come together to accomplish something. So really getting clear on that why and solving those questions, or coming together to solve those questions, answer those questions rather, will help you build that foundation for everything else that you do together. So the next one, oh good, I see some folks putting in some things in the chat. StrengthsFinder, and the other one was Myers-Briggs in 16 personalities, yeah. So the next foundation that I've identified is commitment and accountability. Really important to commit to show up for your collaboration and hold yourself accountable, but also to hold one another accountable for the work that you're committed to doing and the tasks that are at hand. You want to make your collaboration official. So this is really important. I strongly advise that you come together with a letter of agreement, formalize that collaboration, come together with a contract and sign it. Make sure to outline your vision, your priorities, and your roles. And I really encourage you to own this work and celebrate it, because it's really exciting when you find a kindred spirit out there in the world of entrepreneurs who can help share your creative and entrepreneurial journey, and who can share successes, but also can help you share the burden that comes with being a business or brand owner. It's really tough work to slog through wearing all the hats. So if you can find someone who can help you and you can help them, it's a really great thing to celebrate. And just continue to make sure all parties that are involved are committed, and make sure to develop those clear guidelines for responsibility so you can hold one another accountable, and you can build on that safe space to share concerns and pivot if needed, because you've already built that strong foundation of communication. I see some questions come through, so hold that question, and I will, I'll give you a short answer, and I'll elaborate when we have Q&A. But yeah, definitely mastermind groups are great places for collaboration. It's also a great place to find potential collaborators, because you already have a shared goal. One of your shared goals is to grow your business and to succeed and build your own personal development as a business owner or as a professional. So definitely a great place and environment to find potential collaborators. And it is a collaborative environment. I wouldn't necessarily say it's a full-on collaboration. I'd probably want to talk a little bit more about that at the Q&A, but definitely a collaborative relationship for sure. All right, so the next one is compromise and continuity. Really important there. So collaborations are super rewarding. They can help you grow and develop and deepen your work. But the reality is it won't always be easy, and that's completely okay, because as collaborators, you can possess the ability to and determination to keep moving forward together. So making sure that you learn to compromise and work together to collectively solve problems and issues that arise. Really, really important to understand that you're learning and that you're going to continue to grow. And like I said before, evolve with each new opportunity. You're going to have times to reflect and consider how you can improve. It's really an experimentation tool. So making sure that you share a willingness to move forward without getting overly discouraged or distracted is really key. And if you can do that, you're well on your way to building a sustainable working relationship. So making sure that you have a foundation of compromise, and that you can keep moving forward even if things get tough. And also feel okay with stepping back and reevaluating if needed. So the last foundation is enjoyment. And I think this is, I keep saying everyone's important, but this one is, I really think it's key to remember that collaboration should be fun. They should be enjoyable and rewarding, not draining 100% of the time. And yes, it's going to be hard sometimes to collaborate, but the truth is it's even tougher to go at it alone. It can be really isolating and uninspiring to just work from home in a routine on your own, or work from your own office without any fresh ideas coming through the pipeline. So when we work in collaboration, we can get out of our comfort zones, we can stretch our mindsets to more exciting places. That's what's so powerful about collaboration, that it can change us and our businesses and brands for the better. So really enjoy the process and be welcome the change and the edge that you get to push against. When creative minds come together, opportunities arise. And when we're in collaboration, we can learn about the power of an idea and how it takes shape. We can learn how, with our skills combining together, we can transform just a seed of an idea into a full-fledged movement. And I believe that when we're challenged, inspired, and motivated by others, we often do better and we do more good in the world. So making sure you remember about enjoyment as well. So I'd really like to pause here and jump in to another collaborative exercise. I'm just looking at the chat too. So this collaborative exercise, I'd love for us to, we're gonna have a little bit longer of a breakout, about 15 minutes or so. I'd love for your group to come together and to share one thing that you're excited about in the work that you're currently doing. So we can go to the next slide, actually. Emma, thank you so much for being my slide goddess. So I'd love for you to share one thing you're excited about in your work, and then share two things that you consider yourself an expert in. There's some ideas here, but also things like healthcare, coffee, sustainable food sources, yoga, real estate, finance, etc. Every one of you has your own expertise. So share 1 to 2 things you consider yourself an expert in. Then I'd like you to share 1 or 2 things that you either don't enjoy doing, or so you avoid it, or you just are not skilled at doing. And then think of how you could complement one another and collaborate on a shared goal. How can your skill sets complement one another? And I also encourage you to think about your client base, your audience. Who is your audience? Who is your potential collaborators' audience? Where are there places that you're overlapping, and where are places that you aren't overlapping? So what are your customers asking you for as a business owner that you aren't able to provide? But what could a potential collaborator step in and help provide that, or answer those questions, and to create a better customer experience? So we'll break out. Emma's going to put you out in a breakout room, and then we'll come back together and talk a little bit about collaboration ideas. All right, it looks like people are coming back. I'm curious to know how that went for all of you. So I'm going to ask some folks, if you feel free to drop it in the chat too, if you're more comfortable with that. But I'd love to hear your voices. You're all muted, so it's just me talking on my screen. So I'd love to hear from you what came out of your breakout. And there's a lot of you, and I'm trying to see everyone at once. So let's see, anyone feel like sharing? Raise your hand, and keep it up for a while because I'm scanning all the group. Anyone like to share what they learned, or what that experience was like? Oh, great. I'm glad you enjoyed that, Faye. Faye says, a good experience of collaboration. Great. Yeah, I'd love to hear if anyone has any thoughts about some ideas that might have come up. Oh, Eileen, great. I'll unmute you. Oh, I don't think I can. Nikki or Emma, do you mind unmuting Eileen Gold? Sorry, Eileen, do you know how to unmute yourself? Is that possible? Okay.
There you go.
Yay.
So we didn't get all four of us to talk. I'm sorry that the last gal didn't get to talk, but I thought we were all very clear about what our talents are and what we bring to the table. We also were very clear on what our talents are not. And we talked about, you know, you do what you do well, and then you delegate to people who do that well, because you can't be everything to everyone. And so we talked a little bit about that. A member has two businesses that she's starting, and so I shared with her about this hacking company. I'm with Goldman Sachs, 10,000 small businesses, and there were a lot of people who owned food processing and packing companies, and she wanted to sort of figure that and do some healthy food things. I love collaborating, but in my business, it's not easy. And I was saying that because as a designer, a contractor, first of all, I'm one of the few women contractors, so that's a problem. But I brought on other designers, or been with other designers, and they end up stealing my crew, or, you know, it seems to be a dog-eat-dog business. I don't know. I've been for a long time. People who have not been in it so long seem to be a little bit insecure. And the one time I did collaborate, I acted as a contractor and worked with an interior designer. You know, you don't know who someone is until you know who someone is. And she had no CAD skills. She measured everything wrong. All I was doing was the construction, and it really turned out to be not pleasant for me and not pleasant for the client. So, yeah, I would love to have feedback on who to collaborate with.
Sure. Well, thank you for sharing that. I'll dive in a little bit about, finding someone who is trustworthy, reliable, and some of those things that we can do there. And there's a lot of different ways to collaborate that don't involve like intellectual property or design. So I'll share some in a few minutes about that too. Thank you for sharing. Thanks. And it looks like Valerie also had a something to share.
Yes, hi, thank you. We kind of quickly found out with Sylvia that her strengths are financial and maybe less kind of the creative hoo-hoo stuff, and that my strengths were the hoo-hoo stuff and French. And she's actually learning French, and I have zero accounting knowledge. So we had a really great, kind of a meshing of skills that could complement each other.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, complement your businesses.
Yeah, so finance for French.
That's really interesting. Yeah, and if there's a Francophone population in your area, there might be a way to overlap there too about how to provide some services for expats or people who are temporarily here, things like that.
Exactly. That's Sabine with the red poppies behind her.
Oh, yay. Yes.
And one question, if I could, that we can address at the end, but just what do you think about like when your friends become collaborators? Like, is that totally be careful? I have a new friend who we sort of have always been supporting each other in our businesses, but I'm trying to navigate like, okay, is this a professional thing? Or, you know, I actually laugh quite a bit with him. So I just would be curious what you thought about that. And also the role of power, whether you can really collaborate with, say, a boss. So those are my two.
Okay. All right. I'll check in with the group with everyone. I've got some questions there. I'm going to try and make sure I wish there was a way to tag them all. I have just a short other section, and then I can take Q&A. Would you guys like to go through that way, or will you all remember your questions? Because I'm hoping I can.
Yeah, we can do later. No question.
Okay, great. Yeah, if you guys can help me remember them, then I will address those. Thank you for sharing. Oh, sorry, I clicked you unmuted again. I think you're muted. Okay, thanks, Valerie. All right, so lots of good ideas there. And so collaboration, there's so many ways to collaborate, and there's ways to have a for example, my business, Nikki and I were talking about on the chat when you all were in breakout groups, she mentioned how my slides, she asked about my slides, how I made them and how they look great. And I started saying kudos to my creative director, my business partner. So I'll just share a little snippet about my story since I realized I glossed over it. But we created the look and the feel because she's the look. She's the person with the design degree, the years of experience of creating visuals for brands. So she's really skilled at creating captivating, stunning visuals that can capture our audience's attention. But she doesn't write. She doesn't like to speak out. She feels she's more creative in the visuals. And I have no creative skills when it comes to visuals. So we came together as the look and the feel. I'm the feel. I'm a certified coach. I have an MBA. My background is in writing and communications and in community engagement. So together, we're able to create really beautiful customer experiences that are both resonant on terms of message to the client, because I'm skilled at creating the feel, the story, the narrative behind the why of what we're doing, and for our clients. And then she brings the beautiful visuals that can help align with the message to create a brand message that really, really lands. So that's an example of knowing our strengths and weaknesses and coming together as a big collaboration to create an actual company. Whereas you can have a collaborative relationship that is, short and a one-time small thing, but have a lot of impact. One example is we brought on we believe brand photography and brand imagery is super, super vital for brand success, but we aren't photographers. We don't have that expertise. So we brought on our blog, a brand photographer who is, she refers people to us very often and she does great work. And we brought her on saying, hey, can you please speak to our customers about the value of brand photography? We don't know how to talk about that. We're not the experts. And we're asked this question all the time. Should I invest in brand photos and why? What does it cost? What's involved? How do I find a brand photographer? What do I wear? All these questions that I know really, really are of value to our customers. So we brought her on as an expert. She shared her expertise in a blog post and we got great feedback from clients and customers. So that's an example. It didn't go beyond that, but we refer to each other now, and she and I might do a workshop down the road. So we have a collaborative relationship that can evolve over time. But my point is that it's it's less pressure than say, collaborating for a business or for a venture. So I'll share a little bit more about some ideas for collaboration. I like to leave you with some thoughts of examples of really, really possible things you could consider doing. And I hope that by planting the seed, you can start to think after this workshop of some ideas that you might be able to take for yourself and adapt for your brand. So one easy thing one great idea to collaborate is if you're a product-based business is to do co-promotions. This could even work with service-based businesses. For example, I just mentioned Malika, who's the brand photographer. We could cross-promote our services and branding and brand photography. You could consider, realtors collaborate with mortgage lenders and do content sharing that way, referrals. You could create a workshop that is about, the 10 things to consider when trying to buy your first home as a mortgage lender. And a realtor could step in and provide some feedback about what to look for when you're looking for a realtor. For products, you could create co-promotion of products. For example, you could product a bundle with another product. You could bundle your product with another product, or consider someone else's packaging that might create a better outcome for your customers. So an example is partnering with an eco-friendly package creator to create a better product for your customer and lessen your company's carbon footprint. Co-promoting products is a really smart way to expand your reach, but also find new customers. You could create a CSA-inspired bundle of products that your customers would love and trade off on the pickup location, if you're a brick and mortar organization, to get awareness of where you're located. Even if you're closed during COVID, you could have, you know, some really neat goodie bags that people could subscribe to, and have different products that you didn't create, but other businesses have created, which can include gift certificates to service-based businesses as well. Content sharing is one of the best things you can do right now for collaboration. It's very low impact, basically no overhead, but low risk, but high impact. So one way you could do that is guest posting on another brand's blog, kind of like what I shared about Malika on our blog. You could also have someone come guest post on your blog. You could do a Q&A for your collaborators' audience to add value to their customers while also leveraging their audience and widening your reach. You want to think about the audience that you're going after, what kind of values your audience shares, what they're looking for, the questions they're asking, and then think about what business owner or brand exists out there that could address these questions, but I'm not addressing them already. What services or products do my customers want, but I don't already offer and won't be offering, but it somehow complements, what I'm offering. It's kind of like a puzzle, and I love puzzles, so I think collaboration is really fun. You could combine your skills and co-host a webinar or a workshop, or do like, a YouTube vlog. Share your expertise and skills with someone else's who complements yours. I really like the idea of partnering with other service-based businesses as a service-based business provider. One collaboration that I know of that's going really well is an organization that helps businesses incorporate. They partnered with an agency that helps entrepreneurs with financing. So, the business that incorporates or helps businesses incorporate doesn't provide financing, but they know that their customers really need to know about this in order to be successful. So they share referrals back and forth. They also collaborate on content and workshops, and they share information and updates through things like social media and email marketing. Once things open up again, you can share vendor space at a conference or an expo and co-market to attendees and share that overhead cost of what it takes to attend an event. You could co-host a workshop at a conference as well and go in on the content there, and again leverage use your shared skills that complement one another to leverage that audience. You could also develop a unique new product or service that meets your customers' needs, but you otherwise wouldn't be able to do without collaborating. Try a new twist on a product or service, maybe use a different ingredient that a collaborator provides, and collaborate there. One of my clients owns a really successful jewelry business, and she works with flower farmers in California to create the jewelry that she creates. And she also creates, she doesn't create products that are like flower essences or flower dyed fabrics, but her customers are perfect for that type of product. So she collaborates with other people who create those products to offer special goodie bags and special like a goodie bag for her customers, and they always go over really well, and people really value what the people she brings to her website. You could interview a specialist or an expert on your podcast or vlog. Again, ask them questions your customers are asking, and then get those answers to your customers because they'll value for it. You can also offer reciprocal membership to other businesses and their customers in your area, or do an online affiliate program if you're e-commerce. So there's a great way to help spread awareness of other brands that aren't in competition with yours, but again, help your customers get what they're looking for. And customers really value reciprocal programs and affiliate programs. You could also find a local nonprofit that aligns with your personal but also professional goals and values, and collaborate on a special event or online fundraiser. And it's really great because it helps you give back. It helps reiterate your brand goals, but it also helps raise awareness for the cause you believe in and raise funds. And then ultimately it helps raise awareness about your brand too. And people love supporting brands that are doing good in the world, especially now when so many things are, you know, up in the air. So there's really many ways to collaborate, and the opportunities are endless if you consider how individualized collaborators are. So experiment and find what works for you. So we can go to the next slide, Nikki. So in closing, and then I'll take some questions, collaboration is a tool, so please utilize it. I really encourage you. Science is showing that, this is a story I found really interesting, that science is showing that trees are connected and that they communicate with other trees in a forest. I recently read a line that says a tree is not a forest, meaning on its own, a single tree can't survive and thrive as long as it would if it had the support of fellow trees. So alone, one tree can't manage the wind and extreme weather. It can't regulate constant climate change on the forest floor, but together many trees can create an ecosystem that moderates extreme heat and cold, that stores water and generates humidity. And in this way, trees can live hundreds of years, but alone they often die of disease or damage. So if every tree were looking out for only itself, few trees would reach old age. And in healthy, abundant forests, every tree has a value and its existence helps protect and support the others. So this makes me think of entrepreneurship, that high tides float all boats. One entrepreneur is not a forest. Let's come together to create an ecosystem of support, encouragement, and success so we all have a better chance of thriving. Collaborations can be long-term, short, one-time projects, or they can be a whole business. But no matter the duration, impact is long lasting. So I hope that this information that I'm sharing with you offers you some resources to help you feel more confident and creative when you're collaborating. And I encourage you to attend more online events like this, join some entrepreneur groups, get to know other women and support them, share what they're doing, ask them questions, ask them how you can support them, and then they will support you in turn. I really hope that you think of collaboration as a tool and continue to use it and sharpen it to hone your entrepreneurial skills and develop honest and engaged, inspired relationships with other women professionals so that you can harness the creative power that exists around you and then use it to fuel your work and the work of others. But ultimately, have fun and enjoy it. It's all new and experimenting because you're going to be a better, stronger, and I believe a more fulfilled entrepreneur for these types of collaborations. So I will stop there and see if I can answer any questions of yours. Oh, you're welcome, Cassie and Faye. Okay, so I'll ask some questions now. The first one I heard, Valerie, why don't you ask your question? You were asking about, can you ask it really quickly? You could drop it in the chat too, or you can just unmute yourself.
Can you hear me? I was wondering about friendships as collaborators and whether that's a red flag, if you will, and also whether you can really, this may be more theoretical, but can you use the word collaborate with someone who is, say, your boss?
Okay, so relationships, dynamics at work, but also friendships. So yes, short answer for friendships, definitely. Friendships can be a great basis of collaboration as long as you're following the foundations that I outlined. And you're going to get these slides at the end. Nikki and Emma will send them out, so you'll be able to see those. But making sure whatever relationship, whether you've never met each other before or you're really great friends, that you have that trust. So friendships can be great for collaborations because you often have that trust already. But I would recommend, yes, you can call it a collaboration, but I would definitely recommend you get a letter of agreement regardless. You know, even if this would be like your sister, I would say put it down in writing because it formalizes it. So I think that it helps set apart the friendship versus the collaboration.
Right.
It makes it more real. And then it also helps you protect one another, right? And hold each other accountable. And you're saying, we commit to these things, and this is something that we're going to be embarking on together. So I definitely recommend that. Okay. For the boss question, so collaboration can exist within the workplace, especially in workplaces that value like cross-peer or you know, non-hierarchical collaborative relationships. Like, you can bring something to the table that a boss might not have, and vice versa.
Okay.
Especially, I don't know the nature of exactly what you're talking about, but within the workplace, collaboration, there's a lot of research out there. Harvard Business Review is really into collaboration in the workplace. So you could just, you know, research it on your own, but there's a lot of really great resources out there for how to have collaborative workplace relationships. You'd want to make sure, you know, you can't really have an agreement, like a contract in the workplace, but I would recommend that you formalize it another way. Like, you set up a meeting to talk about what the goals are, a meeting to talk about what your roles are. How does it impact your working relationship dynamics currently? And come up with those guidelines.
Okay.
So yeah, making sure you establish it from the start, and then having maybe set meetings that are separate from your working current meetings.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Sabine says, how do you find businesses that can benefit equally from these partnerships? Some are much more established than others. Okay, I understand what you're saying. Some are more established than others. How do you find businesses that can benefit equally? Well, I think you have to define what your goals are for each of the collaborators. So you have to define, okay, what is, for my business, if I'm collaborating with, I'm not talking about my personal business, but you would want to ask yourself, for my business, what does success look like? How would I define success? And then your collaborator want to answer that for themselves, for their business. And they likely are going to look different, especially if you're in different places in your entrepreneurial journey, or how established you are. So you want to make sure you define that first. And it's okay to partner with a more established business. It happens all the time. It's okay to establish with a newer business if you are more established. There's benefits to both. The benefit there would be that the established business might have, they're established, they might have a pretty stagnant audience. And collaborating with a newer business, they're going to have the buzz of a new business story that they can Sylvia's going like this, that they can harness. You can get some new blood, new voices into your audience. And for the newer business, obviously they're able to harness and leverage the established business's audience. So it really, you can see how the benefit can go both ways. So identifying that from the start can really help kind of like level the field a little bit. Hope that does that answer your question, Sabine, a little bit?
Yeah, because it's happened to me before, and you know, obviously I may gravitate toward a business that's more established than mine, and then I want to make sure that they find as much benefit to this collaboration as I do. And so I don't know, I'm big on feeling that there is, you know, mutual benefits. And and actually I just realized I completely forgot about this before this this webinar, but I am about to collaborate with somebody, and that kind of brought up some really good points on how to move forward with this collaboration. So thank you.
Oh, excellent. You're welcome. Yeah, and I will touch base real quickly, because you did mention, just to elaborate a little more and clarify. So getting really clear, and this applies to anyone who's coming up with a collaboration, whether they're established or not, getting really clear on what you bring to the table. Because if you're pitching a collaboration, especially with a business that maybe you feel is more, or a brand that might feel more established, you might be assuming this, they might not have their stuff together in the inside, but really getting clear on what your strengths are, what you bring to the table that they don't already bring, thinking about it from a strategic perspective about, okay, get to know who their audience is, read their content, read their website, look at events they're doing online, try and figure out what they're already offering that you could enhance or elevate, that you could provide a different perspective, what you could bring to the table that their customers would really, really benefit from hearing. So if you come to the relationship from a place of power, and acknowledge that you have some great expertise to bring, regardless of how young your business or how established it is, then they're already going to, if they're a good brand, they're going to think, okay, this is someone worth considering and talking to in more detail. So I really encourage you to come to get clear on what your own strengths are. Any other questions? And I'm sorry, I know some people asked some questions in the beginning and I don't remember where they are in the chat. So feel free to just raise your hand and I'll try to see if anyone has one or drop it in the chat. One question, oh, I think someone did ask this. One question that I do get asked often is, how can you know that a potential collaborator won't steal your ideas? And that's a really good question. And that's why trust is such a big part of collaborating, and getting really clear, coming up with that contract. You can actually get clear in the letter of agreement and the contract saying, like, you know, what is protected and what are the boundaries, really getting clear on those boundaries. And the truth is, ultimately, you really can't know what another person is intending. So you have to make sure you protect yourself and your ideas. So you want to start with really honest conversations before you even formalize anything, and make sure you're clear about, you collectively are clear about the vision and expectations that both parties are involved with. And again, make sure you sign a contract once you formalize that together, and consider collaborations that are things like referrals or content sharing as well, that aren't as intellectual property adverse or risky, if you want to start there. Once you do something like that, you could always see how the relationship went and then think if you want to go further. Oh, and someone says it would be advantageous to be able to continue to communicate with one another by referrals and support. I think that's a comment maybe to WEV. I'm not sure if that's a question.
With that situation, it's really just getting permission to share email addresses. So, you know, I can slot a question into the email that I send out later, but not everybody is comfortable having their email addresses shared. So I can do my best.
Yeah, and I recommend, you know, you can always privately chat someone and see if they're interested in hooking up on LinkedIn. And speaking of, if you have any additional questions or just want to talk about collaboration or your brand, you can email me. My information's on this slide. Definitely find me on LinkedIn. I always like supporting other women entrepreneurs and sharing your content. And then I always want to share this in all the workshops I do, since we're in such a tricky time, that I do have a link for resources for brands and business owners. And I think you're going to get emailed this, but I'll also drop it in the chat so you've got it here. So you can download that. It's also on a blog post, but it's helpful for folks during this time. And I created a collaboration tip sheet. So I encourage you to try to grab that from that link and use that if you have an existing collaboration. If you're creating one, it dives a little bit more in some of the questions that you can ask while you're having these conversations with potential or current collaborators. So yeah, I'm really, really excited to be able to share with you today. I hope that it was helpful. You can feel free to thumbs up if you found it helpful. And I encourage you all to get out there and collaborate. Oh, great. Thanks, Margaret and Valerie and Sylvia and Stacy. And good luck with your collaborations. You guys are going to do great. You're all really smart women. You wouldn't be entrepreneurs if you weren't. This is a hard journey to be an entrepreneur, so I commend you for it. And lean into those smarts and use your own skills to help other women, and then they'll help you in turn. So good luck with all of your collaborations.
Thank you, Shelly. That was just outstanding. And we will be sharing the slides and a recording of the webinar later. And I was thinking to myself, this would make a great podcast. So, you know, if you go out for walks and you like to listen to things as you're walking, and I think there's just so much good information here, because Shelly was actually talking about everything that was on the slide. So nothing would be lost, but it's very rich, content rich. So give yourself the chance to listen to it again. We will be back next month. I think August the 10th is our next scheduled WEV Works webinar, and it's going to be on retail in the age of COVID. And I'm really excited to have some the Retail Smart Guys, which is a consultancy based out of LA, who are going to be talking about all the different considerations for retail environments during these times. So please sign up for that as soon as the registration is available. And as I said, if you're new to WEVE, please go to our website, weveonline.org, and sign up there to receive our newsletters and be aware of everything that we're working on to keep you guys being the best entrepreneurs that you can possibly be. So thank you, and have a great rest of your Wednesday.
Bye-bye. Thank you.